Good morning and welcome to the online devotion from Mount Gilead Church. My name is Mike Bridgewater and I'm the operations director here at the church building. Today is Friday, June 10th, 2022, and we've been looking at the parables spoken to the religious leaders, the Pharisees, the day after the triumphal entry in Matthew 21. And today we're going to look at the third and fourth parable told to them, which is recorded for us at the beginning of Matthew chapter 22. These two parables are the King's Wedding Feast and the parable of the missing wedding garment. So just to recap the first two parables we looked at, they were the parable of the two sons, where both sons had rejected the father, but one son did eventually repent. And last week we looked at the parable of the evil farmers. The evil farmers had plotted against the landowner's son and killed him, and the landowner came and took the vineyard away and gave it to those who would produce fruit. Today we'll look at these last two parables in this scene. These parables are especially fascinating as we have the ability and the benefit of looking at them with 20/20 hindsight. So just keep in mind that the audience is the elites of the day, the Jewish religious leaders. And Jesus is talking, and it says, and again, Jesus spoke to them in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding feast for his son." The first thing we notice that is unlike the previous two parables is that those parables take place in the vineyard, while these next two parables give us a glimpse into the kingdom of heaven. It says the kingdom of heaven can be compared to a king who throws a party for his son. And one important thing to remember in these parables is that the king spoken of is Jesus. So let's read on. It says, "And he sent his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding feast, but they would not come. Again he sent other servants, saying, 'Tell those who were invited, see, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fat calves have been slaughtered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding feast.' But they paid no attention and went off, one to his farm and another to his business, while the rest seized his servants, treated them shamefully, and killed them." We see that the servants were initially sent only to those who were invited. Jesus, along with his apostles, who he had sent out, had been preaching all around the area for the last couple years. The initially invited guests would be the Jews, God's chosen people, the nation of Israel. Looking a little closer, we also see a few other details. First, we see that the kingdom of heaven is going to be fun. It's compared to a wedding feast. It's a party. We also see a patient king. He sent his servants twice to call his chosen people. The second time, even telling them all about the great food that was ready and prepared for them. The table is set. Find your seat and eat. Everything is ready, it says. And unfortunately, again, we see disrespect and disobedience. Initially, they had just refused to come. But then look what happens. Some just paid no attention. Others went off to their farm or to their business. Now, tending to your farm or to your family business, that's not bad in and of itself. But refusing when summoned to a feast by the king, that's just making a bad decision. And then we see, again, violent rebellion against the king. The rest that's spoken of, the rest that seized and killed the servants, the people he is speaking of, are the ruling and religious elite. So let's read on. It says, "The king was angry, and he sent his troops and destroyed those murderers and burned their city. Then he said to his servants, 'The wedding feast is ready, but those invited were not worthy. Go therefore to the main roads and invite to the wedding feast as many as you can find.' And those servants went out to the roads and gathered all whom they found, both good and bad. So the wedding hall was filled with guests." The book of Acts begins with Jesus ascending into heaven and instructing his apostles to be witnesses for him throughout the world. The book of Acts also documents how that was accomplished in the first century and details all types of hardships and beatings and stonings suffered by the apostles. We know that when Peter preached the first sermon on Pentecost, thousands of people believed and were baptized. And we also know as an historical fact that Jerusalem, their city, was leveled by the Romans in AD 70. The second parable, the man without a wedding garment, puts an end to the wedding feast parable. It goes like this. But when the king came in to look at the guests, he saw that there was a man had no wedding garment. And he said to him, "Friend, how did you get in here without a wedding garment?" And he was speechless. Then the king said to the attendants, "Bind him hand and foot and cast him into the outer darkness, in the place where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen." So what's the big deal about this wedding garment? Why does this guy get tossed when the servants were told to go and find and gather all they found, good and bad? And why was he speechless? Well, the custom back in the day was that the king provided the garments for somebody to attend the feast. And without the proper garment would be another indication of rebellion and rejecting a gift from the king. There's no excuse to reject a gift from the king. He was just speechless. So what is our takeaway 2,000 years after these events unfolded? It's this: don't let the things of this world, the farms and businesses, keep you away from tending to the kingdom of heaven. The invitation offered by Christ is for everyone. Accept the gift, clothe yourself in His righteousness, attend the wedding feast, and experience a taste today of what has been prepared for you. That's all I have for you today. Thanks for tuning in. You can read ahead. Next week we're going to have a special guest and we're going to look at a famous story from Luke 16, the rich man and Lazarus. I hope you're able to join us this weekend at either 9 o'clock or 10:30. Jeff will be continuing the Tell Me a Story series with a look at a Bible story from 2 Kings. Have a great rest of your Friday, and I'll see you on Sunday. Bye-bye.